Well, welcome back everybody to the Brands Hatch circuit here for our third and final race of the weekend for the Maximum Network's Volkswagen Racing Cup, incorporating the Goodyear Touring Car Trophy and TCR UK. Two superb races already this weekend, and we're looking at one. In this one, we've had two different winners. Dan Kirby victorious yesterday. He was second in race 2, though, behind Lewis Kent. So Lewis Kent extends his championship lead and has still only been off the podium once all season long. He is on 136 points by my reckoning, with Bruce Winfield second on 91. And the next 4 drivers, actually, second, third, fourth and fifth in the championship, are covered by just 10 points now. You've got Bruce Winfield second, 4 points ahead of Dan Kirby in third, 3 points ahead of Max Harting, and actually only another 3 back then to Toby Byrne, who has had the weekend of all weekends here with a second and a third place finish. Can he go one better this time and get himself a race victory? Andy McEwen up here in the commentary box, Paul O'Neill alongside me. Paul, we've had some fantastic racing this weekend, and this one is set up to be a really good one, isn't it? A really interesting grid with the 2 Kent brothers on the front row together, because the second fastest lap times from the qualifying session yesterday have decided the grid for this Lewis again. And Lewis, as much as he's got this points lead to try and defend, is not going to want to let his brother get one over on him.
No, not at all. And, you know, it is such a story, isn't it, between these 2 brothers? And you were just saying about the front row they've got. Bradley, the only person I've seen in a 49 second lap. So the Kent brothers doing the business as it stands. This is the home circuit like we spoke about already, isn't it, Andy? And, yeah, there's a lot of catch-up to be had from a lot of people. But a lot of stories out there. We were speaking to Max Hart in the 101 Hyundai. The clutch has been replaced. I cannot believe they've got that car out, mate.
Yeah, because we were down there, what, half an hour ago, tops? And it did not look good. The clutch apparently was damaged on the grid. He had to reposition himself on the grid ahead of our previous race, and that did some sort of damage to the clutch. So whereas you're supposed to have essentially an auto clutch where you just flick the paddle, your foot off the throttle, he wasn't able to do that. He was having to do it manually. So every gear change he had to come off the throttle and back on, as you would in your traditional manual road car. That is why that Hyundai was so down on straight line speed. But they've got a brand new clutch in the car, Annex, for getting that fixed for Max, and he now will start from third on the grid in this race alongside Bruce Winfield on the second row. Bruce with his lowest grid position of the weekend so far. He's been second on the grid for both the first 2 races. Now he has to come from fourth, but we know he and that DSG Cupra are good off the line.
Yeah, definitely. He's going to give the 3 Hyundais in front a bit of a headache at the start, but I think overall pace-wise, I do think these i30Ns are the cars to have overall lap time here. So yeah, going to be an interesting one, and they're really starting to put heat across those axles, trying to get those slick tyres up to temperature. It's one of the most embarrassing things you'll ever have as a racing driver, when you actually have a massive slide or a big spin trying to warm your tyres up, which I've done it on live ITV4 coverage in another Tin Top Championship. So yeah, I've done that before, and it's not nice, especially when you've got an onboard camera that's getting streamed straight to your mates at home.
Brilliant. Well, let's hope everyone avoids that today then. That was their outlap to the grid. They'll sit on the grid now for a few minutes, let all of that nice tyre temperature disappear, and then they go out and do another green flag lap before the race gets underway. The race will be over 25 minutes, this one, apparently, according to the timing screen, and so this than the previous ones that we've had, and we're looking forward then to another entertaining race from the championship. We've also got the VW Racing Cup drivers out there as well. Martin on his return ahead of Ollie Turner in the previous race, but it's Martin that has the pole position in this one, and Jack Depper alongside. I don't think I've ever seen a championship, Paul, where there are 2 classes, and in the same race we have family members sharing the front row in TCT grid, and father and son on the front row of the VWs.
How very bizarre, and that's why you're paid top dollar to see things like that, mate, because all I seen was, Kent, Depper. But yeah, I think the only difference being, like you say, the 2 brothers are Kents, and the Deppers are a father and son. But You would think, wouldn't you, that Martin win a race, but I think Martin's come into it just to really, really wind up his son Jack. But he's definitely shown him the way up to now, hasn't he, this weekend? So, I mean, Jack is a fast old peddler, but I've got to say, me and Martin have a bit of banter, but Martin is so impressive in the front-wheel drive category. So I've got to be eating my words here and say that he's probably gonna win this one, isn't he? But I was just gonna say to you, mate, that front three on that grid, that's got November the 5th written all over it.
I was thinking exactly the same thing. I mean, yesterday, this story started really back at Silverstone. It really started to hit fever pitch, this rivalry between Essex and Kent Motorsport and Max Hart. And then it rained quite a significant coming together going up into Druids. It was deemed a racing incident, but of course, if you ask either of them, they each blame the other. Naturally, they're racing drivers after all. But now here they are starting side by side on the grid again. Another chance to try and get a good result in a race victory here. And I don't think either of them have sort of taken a step back after yesterday's incident and thought, okay, maybe time to apply the brakes here. They are both gunning for each other even more than they were before they got in, thinking, you two get on with it, I'm just going to run away for an easy victory.
I'm going to take another side of this, and I'm going to say, if I'm Bruce in that fourth spot there, Bruce Winfield, I'm going to be thinking, let's send in the extra set missile in the 101, see if he can clear the way for me, and I'll follow him through, and then I'll get past him a bit later on. So, yeah, I think Max he'll have a lot of, pent-up anger and frustration, and we've seen how fast Max is. He's an absolute star of the championship. So, but he's got two brothers to fight against, and it's not, to be fair, as if the Kents look after each other. They actually don't, do they? They're out for each other. They're out there to win themselves. So, I don't think you can think that they're just going to close the road off and see how they get on. I think they've really got a real struggle on their hands here. This is going to be a very interesting race, and I love this shot, Andy. It's amazing.
I know, more motorsport should utilise drone footage, shouldn't they? It gives us a truly unique perspective of the Brands Hatch Indy circuit as the cars weave around now on their green flag lap. So it's Bradley Kent and older brother Lewis Kent, although there's only a year or two between them on that front row. Max Hart, the Irish driver, who's dropped down to 4th in the championship now. 3 races ago, he was joint championship leader, and now he's 4th in the points, 3rd on the grid, just ahead of Bruce Winfield, who is still 2nd place in the championship. And Bruce, if he can end this weekend still P2, will be very happy indeed with that. Toby Byrne and Darren Lewis, the 2 NGTC Mercedes, then sharing row 3. Toby Byrne has been on the podium in both races so far and seems to come on strong in the latter part of the race. And with this race being those full delays, that could play into his hands. Darren Lewis in 6th, as I said. Will Butler and Jack Constable should be together on row number 4. Jack Constable was a bit questionable, wasn't he? Because we saw him driving back into the paddock when everyone else was driving to the pit lane, and yeah, he's not out on track, is he? So possible legacy of that contact that he had with his teammate Will Butler in the previous race. It looks like Constable's a non-starter, but Butler is alone on row 4. Dan Kirby is on his own on row 5 by the looks of it, with Alex Kite next in line in the Astra, and Dan Wiley at the back of the TCT grid. There is no Chris Wallace. Hyundai, unfortunately, will be a non-starter. In the VWs, Martin Depper, number 30 on pole, from Jack Depper, number 33 alongside him. The grey Scirocco ahead of the green one, farther ahead of Sun, with Ollie Turner desperate to try and get another race victory, 3rd on the grid. Jeff Alden is 4th, and another non-starter.
Yeah, Russell's had a bit of a shocking weekend. He's just named himself Mr. Turbo because he keeps blowing up. So a bit of a nightmare for himself and the team, but I'm sure they will get on top of things and he'll be back out as soon as he can. But yeah, it's all looking. Look at that, Bradley Kent. Like I said before, he's just angled himself, hasn't he, so he can get a good run. Max Hart, for me, has got to get this win, and this is going to be a classic. Sit back and enjoy, I reckon.
Yeah, this should be fun. 25 minutes of racing then. The 7th round of the championship here at Brands Hatch, with Bradley Kent and Lewis Kent on the front row. Max Hart has a good start there from 3rd on the grid, though, but then bogs down as Bruce Winfield comes from 4th to 3rd first. That was a demon start again from the Cupra, and Bruce Winfield has the lead through Paddock Hill Bend. It's Bradley Kent second, Lewis Kent third, Max Hart somehow fifth place. Yesterday's winner Dan Kirby. Into Druids they go. Hart to the outside line. That's risky because it could open the door for Dan Kirby as they come down the hill, but he might just make it work. He's round the outside of Lewis Kent. He's got the inside for Graham Hill Bend, and Max Hart is going to try and get himself back into P3. He does, with Lewis Kent now being hung out to dry by Dan Kirby. Feisty stuff there from Max Hart.
Wow, what a start again. Winfield was the man on the mission when he kite round the outside there of Darren Lewis, gets the job done. And yeah, they're all starting to just turn in and see what kind of axles they've got, but it looks like Lewis has got the inside and back on the kite. That Astra was looking so blurry as we've seen the first race pan out this morning. But look at that on the defence already, Andy. It's Winfield, and he has got his work cut out. But look at Max Hart, he's all over the back.
Winfield maybe leaving the door open. No, Bradley can't get to the inside at Druids. If Winfield has one weakness, it is confidence on cold tyres. He needs to survive these opening couple of laps. I think once we get into the race, he's got the pace to run at the front, but Bradley Kent is all over him, and Max Hart, look, trying to take advantage of that as well. 5 cars for the lead as they drop down through Graham Hill Bend for the second time and head along the Cooper Straight. It's Winfield, Bradley Kent, Max Hart, Lewis Kent, Dan Kirby, Toby Byrne, the top 6 as they turn through the quick left-hander. And actually, Bradley Kent, now that he's seen Max Hart arrive on his boot lid, is dropping back at certain parts of the circuit at least from the race leader. He was quicker through clearways though, so it's nose to tail.
This is going to be like a game of chess, and Max Hart just needs to, I tell you what, Kent in front of him needs to get this job done as fast as possible, because Hart, as soon as he's on the back of him, he's going to make a move, and inside gets a big squeeze. This could open the door for Max Hart, because he's going to be on the outside and on the wrong line for Druids as he's picked up a... Oh, I tell you what, I thought he was going to run a bit. Look how close this is now.
Yeah, Max Hart weaving to the inside, just trying to put off Bradley Kent maybe. Bradley likes that outside move at Paddock, but it went wrong yesterday when he tried it on Toby Byrne, and he ended up in the barriers and out of the race. So Brad needs to be careful. He knows he's quicker than Winfield at the moment, doesn't need to get involved in any contact. Max Hart closing in. Bradley Kent covers him off though as they turn again through clearways. 7 cars for the lead now, because both the Mercedes A-classes are on the back of this queue. They come out of clearways and Clark Curve then onto another lap. Across the line they go. Winfield from Bradley Kent. Max Hart still can't keep up in a straight line, can he? And he's now got his nemesis, Lewis Kent, right on his tail.
The only thing that's saving him from this position being swapped is the exit he gets from clearways and the traction he gets on the brakes. And the power of the car is questionable. It's really questionable. He's really losing out, isn't he? But the traction that the 101 has is pretty impressive.
Down through Graham Hill Bend again, then Bradley Kent. It seems to me, Paul, like Bruce Winfield is settling in now. He's got that tyre temperature built up, and Bradley Kent, he's still there, he's still applying the pressure, but he's not all over him, is he? He doesn't look like he's a second a lap quicker anymore. The pace is even. Ollie Turner is off at Paddock Hill Bend. That breaks your heart. Ollie Turner has had an absolute weekend to forget, and unfortunately, the VW Golf is in the grabs therefore, and safety car boards are out. The safety car being scrambled then here at Brands Hatch once again. But back to my point there, it looked like Winfield, just before that safety car came out, ironically, had bedded himself in and was looking more and more comfortable by the lap.
Yeah, it does, and it's a good job that that LED board's flashing SC, because the board is actually being hung up upside down, so it's a CS, whatever one of them is. A car of safety. Yeah, I do jest, but look at this shot, just makes me laugh. The drone, the aerial shot. Oh, he's leading, isn't he, the drone? The drone driver's leading the race. Good lad.
He is, and I think the safety car has probably led more laps than anyone so far this weekend. It's made an appearance now in all 3 of our Touring Car Trophy races, but it's kind of to be expected. This is a tight, narrow circuit. It's all action. The drivers never get a moment to breathe, and when the racing is as close as this, the odd little mistake or bit of contact is almost guaranteed, and I don't think we're done with the drama and action in this one yet either. So we are nearly 5 minutes into this 25-minute race then. Bruce Winfield has the lead. Bradley Kent is second and has the fastest lap as well, which is worth 1 bonus championship point. Max Hart third, Lewis Kent fourth, Dan Kirby fifth, keeping a watching brief at the moment, just keeping his powder dry there in that blue and white Cupra. Toby Byrne sixth, Darren Lewis seventh, Alex Kite in 8th place. He was just about keeping up with that leading bunch as well, with Will Butler and Dan Wiley rounding out the top 10. Martin Depper has the lead in VW Cup, still from Jack Depper, so that's grid order. Ollie Turner, of course, is out of the race. There you can see the the recovery operation at Paddock Hill Bend, so that means that Jeff Alden moves into third in the VW Cup. Safety car out then, Paul. Does this help or hurt Bruce Winfield? Because as I said, it looked like he was just starting to get into a rhythm, and the safety car can break that rhythm sometimes, can't it?
I'd say you're bang on, mate. I'd say that for somebody of Bruce's experience and where he's come from, this may break his rhythm, because he looked like he was on top of the guys and he was managing the gap, as in he knew where he was faster, where he was slower, so he was doing a good job there. But to be fair, you know, I think he's led a couple of races now in this championship, so in this series, I think he really just needs to get on with what his safety car lights, make sure that the car is in position. He kind of has to lie to the drivers behind and just pretend he's weaving the tyres. Safety car will come in, hopefully, not very late time, and then he can just get on with it. So yeah, it's one of those situations where you just sometimes think, oh, I don't need this. But if you want to give your car a rest, it's a great thing. But I think for Bruce, it's definitely something that he will want.
No, but safety car restart, as you said, if he does it right, is an opportunity to build a bit of a gap, and he can maybe use to his advantage here the fact that you've got Max Hart in this Kent sandwich behind. That is always guaranteed to generate fireworks, so if he can back Bradley up into Max a bit more, you know Max isn't going to think twice about making a lunge, and that could just give Bruce the gap that he needs and the chance that he needs to build a margin. Ollie Turner's car then is out of the gravel. He's driving it away under his own steam. A lot of gravel will be dumped on the track as a result, but good work there by the marshals, who have done a really good job actually all weekend long. They've had quite a few incidents to deal with, and our volunteer British marshals, the best in the world, have done a cracking job at getting the track clear there. I don't know if we're quite going to get racing back underway this time. The lights were still on the safety car as it went into Surtees. Bruce Winfield was backing up in hope that the race was going to restart. It's going to be one more lap. Yeah, I think there needs to be a percentage of the circuit free for the safety car to turn its lights off, so it can't just switch them off going into the final corner, because that could cause a bit of carnage. The other thing to point out is that gravel that you were talking about that was disposed of by Ollie Turner coming out of Paddock Hill Bend, I'm looking outside the comms box past the man who's firing round in the drone. He's got his little remote control outside, like a computer game. There is that gravel. If that stays there, somebody will go off on it. As we come down where the safety car is now into Paddock Hill Bend, you can actually see. So I'm sure if he's been pulled out by the marshals. Different series have different rules on this, don't they, about receiving outside assistance to get back on the track. I think we have seen drivers rejoin the race partway through in the past in this category. Although don't quote me on that, because I haven't memorised every line of the series regs, but I know that some championships you're not allowed to do that, you're quite right. But certainly Ollie has tagged on at the back of the field, and Bruce Winfield is stacking that field up now in anticipation then of Graham Hill Bend. That will have picked up a lot of dirt on his tyres. I'm not convinced I'd have done that, Bruce, but he's got a bit more time to weave around, get the tyres cleaned up. He's backing them up early, so what do you think? Is he going to go early or leave it right to the last? To me, it's not great. He's going to rely on the traction he's got coming out of clearways. He's gone, and I tell you what, he looks like he's made a decent start here. Yeah, Max Hart wasn't exactly on his toes though, was he? So Lewis Kent is going to be challenging for second here as we get the race back underway. 16 minutes left on the clock, 8 laps in the book. Bruce Winfield leads, Bradley Kent second, big gap back to Max Hart in third, and then the championship leader in fourth position. Slippery surface flags out there at Paddock. That's because of that gravel that you mentioned, which is just on that painted curb, which the drivers do like to use as they run a bit wide coming out of the first turn. All cleanly through though, and Bradley Kent, well, any advantage that Winfield had immediately after the restart has disappeared, and with Max Hart having a bad restart, this is the best chance, isn't it, for Brad to attack for the lead? Yeah, and it's going to be, if he's, you know, if he times this right, this is going to be perfect. But he needs to have a switch at him now as they go into clearways. If there's a little gap, he needs to be down the inside of him, going towards the right-hander. Has he done him off? Bruce Winfield is an absolute star of this championship. What a legend in that car, really. Yeah, knows how to defend as well, doesn't he? And he stayed in front in this race longer than he managed in the previous ones across. Bradley Kent tries the outside line again. This is really, really brave. Side by side for the lead. Bradley Kent's got the outside. Winfield though has the inside line for Druids and will surely break as late as he dares. The rear wheel hopping in the air. He gets the Cooper back in front. Bradley Kent runs wide and Max Hart is right back with them again. Down towards Graham Hill Bend they go. That didn't work. That was a risky move, but he had that one chance to do it. Brad knew that if that didn't work, he could slot back in just before Max Hart arrived on the scene.
He can smell blood, and he can smell Kent's blood, and I tell you what, this is hotting up to exactly what we wanted it to be. And look at this, he's side by side on the exit. Will he push him? He does push him. I'd have had him straight in the gravel with his two wheels, but great move. Max Hart is on the charge.
Yeah, he's got the inside for Paddock Hill Bend, then absolutely level at the start-finish line, but there's no way Brad's going to fight back from this, surely. Well, he's going to try around the outside again, isn't he? How many corners does he brave it around the outside of Max Hart? He gets two wheels in the dirt. He still keeps on coming. Max Hart on the inside line. Bradley Kent on the outside will have to give way. And would you believe it? Max Hart is back into second place. And this is brilliant news for Bruce Winfield, because these three are holding each other up. Hart is sideways at Graham Hill Bend. All the while, they're hemorrhaging time to the leader.
Unbelievable, Jeff. That was unreal. And I've got to say two things. Bradley Kent, you're the bravest man on this planet. Max Hart, you are the fairest man on this planet. You had two chances to put your rival two wheels into the gravel. Did you take them? You didn't, mate. That was beautiful driving by the both of them. Fair play.
Now, if you're Bradley Kent, do you sit behind Max and close in together on the leader, or do you go for second place? Well, there's the answer. He's going to the outside again at Paddock Hill Bend, isn't he? But that would be sensible in a way, wouldn't it?
It would be, but it's still not over as they go into Druid side by side. It's never going to work round there, Bradley, unless you can get an overlap, which he just can't. And Bruce Winfield just gets away with it. Late lunge into Graham Hill Bend, but no, these boys are driving beautifully. I cannot tell you how difficult it is. But look at his brother. His brother's going to be involved in this. And I'll tell you what, Max Hart has not got the fastest car. And this is brilliant news for Bruce Winfield.
Keep an eye on Toby Byrne as well. The red Mercedes is into fifth. He's gone past Dan Kirby. We know he's quick in the second half of the race. Mistake from Max Hart at Clearways. Bradley Kent is up the inside. Now, will he show Max Hart the same sort of fair racecraft that Max did to him a few laps ago? Because now Max is on the outside at Paddock. And of course, Bradley's got his brother Lewis looking to take advantage of this as well. Into the first corner. A bit of wing mirror bashing goes on. Max Hart round the outside. Bradley Kent, will he leave him space? Will he leave him space? There's a bit of rubbing. Side by side again up the hill. Kent on the inside. Hart is super late on the brakes. There's a bit more paint traded. Brilliant racing.
Oh, we'd love to see it. We'd love to see it, but he just can't bring his brother through. This is the best tin top racing I've seen for a long time. They absolutely clobber the curbs to an inch of their lives, and we've got a car off.
That could be safety car, couldn't it? Dan Wiley's BMW in a dangerous place, potentially. We'll let you know about that one as and when we get news. 12 minutes left on the clock. Bruce Winfield will have driven past that stricken BMW and thought, surely not.
Bruce Winfield may as well just drive into that car, because I tell you what, if that safety car comes out, that could be game over for him. And I'm not being disrespectful, but Bradley Kent will have him if they get the safety car out with a few minutes to go, I'm sure of it.
Alex Kite here behind Will Butler. This is for 8th position, by the way. Still no change in the VW Racing Cup element of the race. Martin Depper ahead of Jack Depper, so you're missing nothing there. They're only 0.4 of a second apart, but no change of position for the time being, at least, with 11 minutes and 20 seconds left on the clock. Still no sign of a safety car, which is good news. They might be able to move the car. In fact, it might have even moved under its own steam. I can't quite see it anymore out of the window. We'll wait until we... Oh, no, it is still there. But yellow flags covering the incident for the moment. No need for the safety car to come out. Purple first sector here for Brad Kent, though, Paul. He's after Winfield.
He's really going for him, isn't he? And I tell you what, that is not just a fast sector 2, well, sector 1, that is a very quick one. Safety car deployed, and to be honest, it was always going to be a safety car deployed. The car is too close to the white line and the tarmac on the lead up to Surtees. There was just no way that wasn't going to be a safety car. Bruce will be devastated, and if he wins this race, he is the new Gilles Villeneuve.
You can see why the safety car is out. They can't leave that car there. It's clearly in a dangerous position, but if you're Bruce Winfield now, you are spitting feathers in that Cupra. I mean, the part of me that knows Bruce Winfield and respects him is gutted for him. The impartial commentator part of my brain, though, is thinking, game on, because now we are going to have a battle royale for the final, 7 minutes or so. Winfield has fended off Bradley Kent once, though, in fairness. All he has to do is repeat what he did last time, back Kent up into Max Hart and try and make his escape. Easier said than done, I know, but that's got to be the plan.
Yeah, I've got to say, though, that, you know, speaking to the majority of the drivers, it's the front tyres, obviously, that go off, and it's how quick they go off, and I just feel that Bruce is not overdriving, he's driving that car to an inch of its life, and when you do that, this safety car will actually, it doesn't sound right, but it will actually help him. Oh, who's that coming? Is that Toby Byrne? Oh, Toby Byrne into the pits.
That is a shame then. Byrne was running well, wasn't he, in 5th place, and coming on strong as well as the race went on. That is Jeff Alden, whose car is, I think, about to shed its rear bumper. He's had contact at the back, and he's been through the grass, hasn't he? There's a lot of grass in the grill. Jeff Alden, never far away from drama.
I love Jeff. I was talking to him this morning, and he was quick to put his cigarette out. I was thinking, I'm not going to think you're any less of an athlete, mate, so don't worry. He's about 90.
Oh dear, you're making some real friends today, Paul. You're absolutely right though, Jeff. A great driver to have in the championship. Been racing as well in the VWs for a few years now, and yeah, he's maybe not quite got the raw pace of the Deppers and Ollie Turner, but enjoys his racing nonetheless. There is Toby Byrne. Now that is yeah, real shame. I don't know what the issue is here, Paul.
Yeah, so bonnet clips are up, so I think we might have seen out of shot. You need to make, there you go, he just nearly sent him out and forgot. That would have been a bent roof and a disappearing bonnet. So looks like they've got that car, or they're tugging that car off the grass. So okay, that is going to be one more. I reckon the safety car will come in on this lap. They just need to get rid of this in the short circuit side of the clearways entrance. So that'll be done. Another great bit of work there from the marshals and the recovery team to get us underway. Such a shame though, isn't it? That's one of the best battles. I tell you what, I will say it now because I've got time, but Max Hart and Bradley Kent need to be bowed at when you see them, because that was unbelievable driving, and that's exactly what this championship deserves, this series deserves, and also what the people watching it deserve.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday we had similar battles to that, but 9 times out of 10 they ended in contact. Today they showed some real restraint. Okay, the race isn't over yet, I realise, but on that occasion showed great restraint, showed each other respect. You can go around the outside of somebody in touring car racing. A lot of the time you'll end up in the gravel, and when you don't, it's purely because the driver on the inside of you decided not to do that to you. It was a choice they made to leave you room, and it's really so great to see that. As Toby Byrne, by the way, is back out on track, so he'll try and catch the back of the pack before the race restarts, which is going to happen now. The sun is shining for the first time all weekend at Brands Hatch. We've got 7 minutes and 10 seconds left on the clock, and Bruce Winfield, can he become the 6th different winner this season from 7 races and claim his first ever victory in a TCR car? Well, his restart isn't quite as good this time, is it? Bradley Kent has well and truly gone with him, and once again Max Hart under pressure immediately from Lewis.
He really doesn't get into clearways and out of clearways very well, Max Hart. Something not right about that car. As you can see, Bruce has to defend straight away, and Bradley, is he going to have another go? He needs to come back across here, Bruce, because that needs to be defended. But again, no way for Bradley to get down there. But Max Hart again, I tell you what, you couldn't wish for a closer race. This looks close. That's going to be a big move.
No, there's no room though. Bruce Winfield just about got across to defend, and look, one defensive move and it stacks them all back together again. So once more we've got a 5, maybe 6 car train for the lead. Then Winfield somehow has fended off all of these attacks. He's got the lead into clearways. Bradley Kent just can't get through on the inside line, and he now daren't go to the outside again because Max Hart is right there with him again in 3rd. Lewis Kent 4th, Darren Lewis in 5th, and Dan Kirby a little bit quieter in this race in 6th, perhaps just waiting to see what unfolds ahead of him. Across the line again, Winfield to the inside. Bradley Kent this time tries to do the late switch to the inside of Paddock. That doesn't quite work out, but he's got so much mid-corner speed. He tries to get to the inside and get into Druids, but once more, Winfield, he's not bashful about shutting that door, is he?
He really isn't, and Bradley looked like he'd actually got the job half done then. He looked like he had a nose down the inside, but again, massively respectful driving. It's what we like to see. It's too easy in tin top cars to just release the brakes and fire into somebody. Fire extinguisher has gone off in that NGTC car for Toby Byrne. That's not ideal.
No, it really isn't. Bruce Winfield, though, starting to find his feet again here at the head of the field. Look at the other Mercedes of Darren Lewis starting to harass Lewis Kent, the championship leader. Lewis has been a bit of an enigma in this one. He's been there in the lead battle, but he's never at any point looked likely to move forward from 4th, has he?
No, it's very interesting, isn't it? Like you say, it's like a yo-yo effect. It's some people have got better traction, some people have got better brakes. Nobody actually in that lead group seems to have the overall package to win this race. Bradley is the only person I can see that is going to have a proper go. But if Bruce wins this, I will be the first person to say that is a miracle.
And quite frankly, I'll be amazed if they go a full 25 minutes without Bradley Kent losing patience here, because he is such a young driver. Still a teenager is Bradley Kent, his first season of racing at this level, and he's shown, as I said, amazing restraint here, not to just give Bruce a bit of a love tap and dive up the inside. He's come close on a couple of occasions. You can see the temptation is there, isn't it, into the low-speed corners, just a little push to pass, but he's really, really trying to do this cleanly.
And I tell you what, how this is winning for Bruce, I'll tell you what, he's done a good job there, and he's got past it. Maybe that was a clear way, actually Wilson past Kent. Round the outside again. Oh, this could end in absolute disaster if we're not careful, but again, late on the brakes, runs in wide. Max Hart down the inside, and is he going to get past? Is it job done? This could end in absolute nightmare circumstances, but no, he gets it done again.
This is incredible racing, isn't it? Bradley Kent there, every time he runs wide and gives Max Hart a chance, Max can't finish the move. He's weaving around behind him again. Darren Lewis, by the way, is into fourth. He made that move stick on Lewis Kent, so that's 4 points being lost by Lewis. Could Darren even become a factor in this lead battle? Those Mercedes are good on the long run. We've got 3.5 minutes still to go. Bruce Winfield, he must now be starting to think, hang on a minute, this could actually happen.
Robert Area Motorsport will be having kittens watching this, because he just knows, he'll know himself, the team manager principal will know himself that he knows where the car is strong and where it isn't. They'll have had that conversation, and what Bruce does brilliantly in the lead is he stops the car on the apexes where he knows he's not the fastest, and it means Bradley cannot drive through him, and it gives Bradley 2 opportunities, one to drive through him or the other to run wide, try go around the outside, and it loses him time and it backs him into Max Hart, like you said before.
Yeah, absolutely. Max, by the way, has a bit of damage now on the right front corner of that Hyundai, but that is the least of his troubles right now. Jack Depper, well spotted, Paul, into the lead of the VW Racing Cup. We haven't dared take our eyes off this overall lead battle, but the VW battle is going to run right to the flag as well. There it is. Jack Depper ahead of Martin, with Ollie Turner right back with them, but of course Turner is a lap down, or a couple of laps down, in fact, after his gravelly excursion earlier on. Right, they head through Clearways. The overall leaders are overlapping again at paddock, I can tell you, though. Bradley Kent backs out of it. Again, he tried the outside line at turn 1. The VW's come across the start-finish line, unlikely to change positions for the time being, so let's try and get back to the overall race leaders. 2.25 minutes left on the clock, and Bruce Winfield still has the advantage from Brad Kent in second, Max Hart third, Darren Lewis fourth place, was quicker than them on the previous lap. Lewis is closing in on those top 3, and as the Deppers slide their way through Druids there, Jackson just ahead, and there is finally a bit of contact there between Bradley Kent and the race leader Bruce Winfield, and Max Hart sees a chance to get up the inside maybe. Brilliant switch back by Bradley Kent. He goes to the outside, to the inside, 2 wheels on the grass, sideways. Max Hart gets a run on both of them. Bradley Kent has his nose ahead of the line. We go on to the penultimate lap of the race, and Bradley Kent has done it. He's into the lead. He runs wide though. Max Hart is through to second, and Bruce Winfield, with 2 laps to go, is down to third place. Tries to get back up the inside of Max Hart, who leaves the door open. I can't believe it. Hart opened the door there for Winfield, who's back up the inside for second, and this is exactly what Bradley Kent wants to see. Kent is getting away. Hart is busy trying to hold on to second, and Darren Lewis with them as well.
Oh, I'll tell you what, it all happened, just that little bit of contact. Maybe Bruce just slowed the car down too much, or it could have been Bradley releasing the brake pressure of the car, and it just tagged him wide, and that was it. Game over. Darren Lewis sees his opportunity. Oh, it's robust in the smoke, but he gets the job done and gives him a hip and shoulder on the exit, but that's opened the door. No.
Oh, Winfield and Lewis, that did not have to happen. That was exactly the opposite of what we saw earlier on when Kent and Hart were side by side, and neither of them benefited. Look, they've both been in the gravel, and I don't. Oh, and Bruce Winfield tries to get back up the inside and ends up in the gravel. That was all unnecessary, I'm afraid. He wasn't happy with what Darren Lewis did. He tried to snap back immediately, and inevitable contact was made. We are on the final lap, I believe, of the race. We might just squeeze one more in, and Bradley Kent, Max Hart and Lewis Kent have got themselves back into the top 3. The red flag is thrown. Not a huge surprise that was tempers boiling over, I think, Paul.
Yeah, that was not ideal, was it? If anything, it just looked silly and clumsy in my book, and if you're going to squeeze people on exits of corners, you've got to know what you're doing, and if you're going to catch people's wheels and things like that, then it's not ideal, is it? But we'll have to look at it from different angles, and we'll have to let the race stewards take a look at it, because it's not our call. But the Deppers have had fun, haven't they? And Jack has got one back on his dad.
Yes, he has. So win a piece for, well, 2 wins. 2 wins for Jack Depper this weekend. One for his father, Martin. They have dominated the VW Racing Cup element of the weekend. What a race, though. I mean, I'm going to pretend the last couple of minutes didn't happen, because up until that point, it was one of the best races we've seen in this championship, and that was exactly how TCR racing should be.
Exactly that. It was one of the best races I've ever seen, and then one of the worst ends I've ever seen of a race, so a real shame. The cars doing the right thing, they're going onto the grid. The red flag has been out. Some of the cars are, well, the doors are opening on the cars. Some of the cars have gone in, so you're supposed to go back onto the grid unless directed by the marshals. So some cars are out there, some cars are not. It looks like nobody knows what's going on. That's what I like in motorsport.
Happens far more often than you'd realise. I don't think we're going to get a restart. There were 29 seconds left on the clock, so that will be the end of the race. And I think the marshals heading up to the cars on the grid now will guide them back into pit lane. But yeah, some sensational racing there. What I will never forget, that battle between Max Hart and Bradley Kent, the respect shown between the two of them, and of all the drivers to show respect to each other. You wouldn't expect it to be a Kent and Max Hart after their history this weekend. But that was touring car racing at its best. And you know, Paul, this championship gets knocked. People like to pretend this championship isn't serious and they don't take it seriously. But we can have racing like that, and it's drivers like Brad and Lewis and Max who are the future of touring car racing, learning their craft here in the Touring Car Trophy in TCR UK, and it doesn't get any better than that race.
Not at all, you know, and that it can go wrong. Believe me, in fifth gear around Paddock Hill Bend, it can go wrong on your own. You had two abreast there, you had people trying to get switchbacks. I've got to say, Max Hart and the Kents were absolutely exceptional there. Bradley, I mean, he knows nothing but to just go flat out, doesn't he? So I'm going to run off and leave you down there and go and see the winners.
Yes, absolutely, because the rest of the cars have now been guided off the start-finish line. So the confirmation of the result then, Bradley Kent with the victory, because he just about got the lead more than one lap before the red flag, I think, didn't he? The results, of course, go back a lap when there's a red flag, but I think he was ahead anyway. So it should be Kent from Hart, from Lewis Kent, Brad Kent, that is, with the win, Lewis in third, Darren Lewis fourth, Bruce Winfield fifth, Dan Kirby sixth, and Will Butler in seventh, with Jack Depper in eighth, winning in the VW Racing Cup. Martin Depper was second, Jeff Alden third, and Ollie Turner, a bit like he did yesterday, not getting a great result, finishing a couple of laps down, but at least finishing and scoring points with a relatively small field in the VW Racing Cup. If you get to the end of the race, you are at least guaranteed some points, and that is exactly what Ollie Turner managed to do in that race. Alex Kite, I noticed, I didn't have a chance to tell you, but Alex Kite came into the pit lane with a problem partway through. Toby Byrne we saw coming in as well, and Dan Wiley bringing out the safety car, the second safety car, when his BMW stopped on the back straight. Championship-wise then, what does this mean? Well, Bradley Kent will get himself 25 championship points. Remember, it was really tight, wasn't it, for second in the championship. Max Hart will get 22, just adding all of this to my magic spreadsheet. 24 championship leader Lewis Kent, obviously will hang on to the championship lead. That was at least certain before the race started. Darren Lewis provisionally is fourth, but I reckon there might be a conversation to be had there. Bruce Winfield fifth, so Winfield will score 16 points. Second in the championship, remember, was Bruce, and Dan Kirby will score 14. So all of that means that leaving Brands Hatch, we will have, well, it couldn't be much closer really. Lewis Kent has a big lead in the championship, but then second, third, fourth and fifth covered by just 4 points. I'll get to that after though, because Paul O'Neill is ready down in the pit lane with our race winners.
Well, that was some Father's Day, wasn't it? That's one of the best tin top races I've ever seen. The Deppers, father and son. Oh, look at that! They've got the shirts on. I think this is going to say "Send it," which it does amazingly. Jack Depper, come here, Captain. That was a spot-on effort, mate. Oh. Well done, and you know, that was nice for your dad, wasn't it, for him to just let you through?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say he let me through. I was reeling him in. You know, I didn't think to do any stupid dives. I mean, although it says Paul Send, you know, last race I spanned, so I was, you know, waiting until I was right on his bumper. Just shoved it up the inside and job done.
What did you learn off your dad when you were following him round? I followed him out of Castle Coombe on his motorbike. I learnt a lot.
Brake.
And that was about it?
That was about it. And having an ex-touring car driver, as you did. So, you know, it's pretty good.
He's a bit silly then, isn't he?
I know, you should start charging from now on if I'm going to start beating him.
What do you take from that, though? You know, it's been up and down. had some other things that have gone on, but that was fantastic.
Yeah, no, I mean, all the way through, that was just a superb race. You know, kept it in one piece. There's not much more you can really ask for, especially like the last race coming from the spin. You can't let it affect your confidence. The reason I spun was because I had my foot planted a bit too much on the throttle and lost the back. But you know, kept it planted, didn't change how I approached that corner, and it all worked out nicely.
Right, Deppers, you've had your limelight, on your way, well done. Bradley Kent, come here my man, come here my man. One of the best tin top races I have ever seen. The respect you shown Max Hart and the respect that he's shown you was phenomenal, mate. Talk me through it.
To be honest, from word get-go, it was eventful. The safety car made it 10 times worse. But no, we gave respect to each other. It's horrible to see Bruce the way he finished up the way he is, because what a fantastic race. And honestly, on the mic after the finish, I said that's one of the best races I've ever had. So, and I'm sweating, so that's a good thing.
You don't look like you're sweating though, but we're gonna head back to the studio now, and we're just gonna go back to Andy McEwen. So back to you, Andy.
Thank you very much, Paul. Well, that was a fantastic race from the VW Racing Cup, Goodyear Touring Car Trophy and TCR UK. We'll be back in the middle of July, I believe, at Alton Park for our next couple of races. Be sure to tune in, or maybe even make a journey up to the northwest to see that. Just to very quickly finish off the point I was making about the championship standings, Bruce Winfield's second is now only 1 point ahead of Max Hart and Bradley Kent, tied for third, and then 5 points further back to Dan Kirby. It couldn't be any closer. It's shaping up to be a fantastic second half of the season. We'll see you with more TCR action later in the year at Alton Park. Now here at Brands Hatch, though, time to get some drifting back underway out on the circuit. So Alexi, for the time being, back over to you.
Thanks, guys. I mean, what an incredible race that was, and deeply controversial finish. I'm sure those of you watching will agree. It is now time for some simpler pleasures. Hopefully with less controversy. It is the Drift Pro Championship. Maz is leading our commentary. We'll also have Andy Frost here in the booth, just giving us some of his expertise as and when required.
Let's have a